Hey, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome once again to our second presentation of the Ketron Lounge sound module drum machine multimedia player. Again, in the first set of videos that we did, we were showing you how this instrument could be used as a standalone instrument. In this presentation, we're going to talk about how you can use this with a MIDI controller. Yes, so right now before me, I have a 61 key keyboard MIDI controller, but if you have a MIDI guitar, for an example, or if you have a MIDI accordion as well, you can be able to use that to access the great sounds that this instrument presents. So in this first part of the presentation, we are going to talk about, yes, the voices, okay? You have a plethora load of voices in this instrument, and all you have to do is have a MIDI device or a MIDI controller, connect that into the MIDI in jack at the back of the instrument, and you have access to all these wonderful, great sounds. Of course, if you get the AjamSonic package, you even have additional sounds with velocity switching, for an example, and with voice character emulation, which is the articulation that's coming out of natural voices like your saxophone and like your guitar and like your bass and what have you. So without much ado, let's dive into the lounge. So this segment again covers being able to use this with a MIDI controller. And for this example, we're going to use a MIDI keyboard, but it also applies to MIDI guitars, MIDI saxophone, MIDI accordions, and any device that has a MIDI controller or capability of being able to control the device externally. So let's talk about sounds real quick. So as you were seeing when I was playing in that first part over there, I was going through some of the voices that this wonderful instrument has to offer. And of course, you know, one of the fundamental voices that you have in any musical instrument would, of course, be the grand piano. So if I go in here, and I'm just going to go into the regular voice bank for an example, and I'm going to page over to where I have the dark grand piano, for an example. Let me go over here so you can see exactly what I'm doing. I'm actually touching this large touch screen despite the small size of this unit. I now have access to this nice great piano sound, but knowing me, I'm going to spice it up a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to also add some pad to that particular sound as well. Let's try the electric piano. Let me move over. I'm just going to go over to some of the guitar sounds and let's listen to some of the solo instruments we have in here. For example, our Spanish guitar. did I do there? Okay, so on this nice and little compact unit, we have the capability of being able to instantly have a split point and then have the keys to the left respond to bass. Okay, so if you look at the screen right there, for an example, let me switch over real quick so you can see what I'm looking at. It's a function on there that says bass left on and off. Okay, if that's off, you have a full keyboard with whatever voice you're looking at, whatever lead voice you're looking at. But once I turn that on, I have a split point where to the left, all the sounds are bass sounds, and on the right hand side, I have my lead voices. So it allows you to be able to play a bass on the left hand, for those of you who play walking bass line, okay? And on the right hand side, you have access to your lead voices. So, you know, for those of you that do very well with left-hand bass when you're playing like jazz and all that kind of stuff. But it doesn't only end there. Remember I told you that this is also a drum machine. Yes, sir, it is a drum machine indeed. So what does that mean? That means that we actually have drum samples in here. Now, what distinguishes this from any other drum machine out there is the live drums. And you heard me correctly. So you can actually go in there. All right, let's go over to the screen real quick so you can see again what I'm seeing. And when you have the drums button turned on, it gives you access to this particular page over here. Let's zoom out a little bit, okay? So over to the left, you have your categories of different drum categories, right? Like your Latin, your beat, your dance. And over to the right, it displays the different instruments. So over to the left, you have your categories of different drum categories, like your Latin, your dance, your country. And when you touch any of those, on the right, you see the first set of actual styles that belong to that category. And of course, you can turn the wheel if you want to access even more, right? You see that I get more and more and more and more, okay? And of course, again, with the AjamSonic package, you have 140 more plus whatever other packages you have out there. So real quick, if I go into beat and I go, let's say I touch the 16 beat 8, which is that one over there. Right now, my machine is set up to be able to use that particular beat. All I have to do is press the start button and I have a 16 beat going on there in the back. Okay? Now let me explain something here real quick as to what was just happening over there. If you notice when I was playing, let's get you on a split screen. If you notice when I was playing, what happened? You were able to hear a couple of things, okay? You're able to hear me play, but then you heard the drum switching over and having different parts. So let's explain what's happening here using the actual arranger function, right? So again, I use that word cautiously, arranger, because you don't really have a full-fledged arranger built into this unit right here. So the drum sections, when you're playing those drums, if you look at the bottom of the screen, you have A, B, C, and D. Those are variations, right? Variations to the different drum parts. So if you're in variation A and you start, you get a subtle, nice, easy going drum, right? Once you go to variation B, it gets a little bit more busy. Now you got that rim shot coming in, okay? Variation C, now you got the snare, right? So you can actually control to some extent what the drummer is doing. And remember, this is an audio drum, which means somebody sat somewhere in the studio and played these drums, and we're assigning the different parts to the various buttons over here. If I go to variation D, which it just did by itself right now, you hear a different variation now coming in with tambourines and stuff. And how did it go to that variation by itself? You see what it's doing? It's actually switching back and forth. Well, over here, there's a function on the screen. Let me zoom in. And that is called autoplay. If this is on, what happens is it's going to go through all the variations automatically. So it starts off with variation A. If that's 8 bars, it plays the entire variation and then goes over to B. If that's 12 bars, it'll play the entire variation and go over to C and so on automatically. Because remember, you're busy playing. So the less you have to fidget and fiddle with the machine, the better, right? You can also get the FS13 or the FS6 programmable foot switches, and you can use your feet to actually, step on these buttons and program them to the foot switch and then control them that way by using your feet. But sometimes you want to have a lot of things automated, because from that perspective, it means that you don't have to worry so much about having to control the live drummer. So if the autoplay is off, you can go through manually and fidget with the drums. Another interesting feature we have, and I'm going to pick something here more interesting. Let's pick a dance beat, okay? Dance 130. Now, if you notice, after every name of the style, there's a number. Like in this case, if you look at the screen, it tells you dance 3_100. That last number is the tempo, the natural tempo of that particular style. Of course, you can go up and down by hitting the tempo button over here, and then you just simply turn the wheel to whatever tempo you want to set it at, right? But what it is because it's a live drum, because it's an audio drum, it's actually, the machine is designed to tell you what the starting, or what the original or initial tempo for that particular style is. So you can then vary from that particular point. So that's what that number stands for. So back to the initial discussion we were having, I have that dance style, right? And I start, for example, with A. That sounds cool, right? I can now go to B, okay? But watch this out. I forgot to talk about this before, and I'll tell you why. You also have these two little guys over here. One of them is called the fill, and the other one is called the break. Even though you only have one fill, this machine has 4 fill-ins, okay? And even though you have one break, it has 4 breaks as well. So which means that if I'm in variation A and I press the fill, I'm going to hear fill 1, okay? If I'm in variation B and I press the fill, I'm going to hear fill 2. And the same applies to the break as well. But watch this. I can be playing in the variation, okay? If I want to cycle through all those fills, like a drummer who's really going out crazy, for example, right? I can just press and hold that fill. And what it's going to do is going to go through fill 1, it's going to go through fill 2, it's going to go through fill 3, it's going to go through fill 4. And all I'm doing is holding down the button, okay? And the same applies for the break as well. If I hit the break button and hold it, wow. That is what I call controlling a drum, all right? Let's try another one here. I'm going to go to tempo, and I'm going to speed it up. Let's get to the tempo screen real quick. I'm going to tempo, and I'm going to make that tempo, let's say, 130. Again, that's a live drummer, okay? 130. Now listen to this. This is very amazing, very interesting. I mean, you see me smiling because, trust me, if you're in the studio, you're hearing it like, wow. I hope that most of you that are watching this are actually hearing this through a good sound system or good headphones, because you're not going to be able to appreciate all the sounds, especially the lower register, the bass and the kick drum, if you're just playing this on a tablet or on your cell phone devices. So I'd advise you, if you don't have the chance now, later on, go back and play this at home. Go through a computer, go through a good, decent set of speakers, and you'll be able to appreciate what's going on over here as well. Having the live drums makes night and day. Now, if I go into a Latin category, I see a lot of people asking questions about the salsa and the merengue. If I go into the Latin category, everything again is arranged alphabetically, okay? So I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to go through, let's say, what's requested the most over here, merengue, all right? Now, with the merengue, normally what do? Merengue is normally associated with nice piano and some great brass and some nice horns. So I'm going to go into my voice section. I'm going to press the voice button over here. Let's switch over the screen real quick. I'm going to press that voice, okay? and I'm going to pick a nice sound. I'm going to go into the piano category, and I'm going to turn this wheel. I'm looking for something that's going to mimic, let's say, a Latin piano. All right, so let me go forward now and look for that sound real quick. Bring the screen in so you can see exactly what I am seeing here. And I'm turning that wheel, and I'm looking for something that has, there we go, we have the Latin piano. So we just selected that Latin piano sound. So now what we're going to do, we're going to be able to play something with that merengue, and that should be able to give us a great, nice Latin piano. Okay, so let's try that and see what happens. Of course, if I got my bass over here, all I have to do is accompany that, okay? And I go over here, and I'm gonna now try. So if you notice that I'm actually here having fun in the studio as we speak, and we've gradually migrated into the left bass, which we did talk about as well. And actually, I think we're actually on part 3 now, talking about the drums. All right, so I've been able to try and combine everything here for you. So this, of course, you know, when you play Latin players, they usually use 2 hands, and then this particular sound, what it does is it plays a higher octave and a lower octave. So automatically, when I'm playing with 1 finger or 1 note, it doubles up and plays a lower note for me. So then now, so these are some of the neat tricks that are found in this powerful module, okay? Which of course, and that's why I was saying before initially, for those of you who have just joined us, that yes, you can find this in other software out there like Easy Drummer and what have you, but the one unique thing that makes a hardware piece of gear like this very interesting and unique is the capability to access certain things as you're going live. Software has its own drawbacks, and this is one of them, in the fact that you have to prepare a lot of stuff at home or prior to getting to the stage. With this machine, yes, there is some preparation involved, but when you're on stage, you're live, you're energetic. I can control, I can change things, right? Which means that your performance is never the same twice. Unlike when you're playing with a backing track. Everywhere you go, you sound the same when you did, you know, a couple of days ago when you played at other bar or a club or a church. In this case, like a live band, you're always unique and you're always different, even compared to yourself, okay? So the drummer in this machine is, again, doesn't give you any headache, doesn't ask for money before the shows, okay? And you can control. Can you imagine being able to control your drummer, being able to control your bass player, your keyboard player? And in the next video, we're going to have a microphone and plug the microphone into the unit or the machine itself. And yes, we shall have access to the vocalizer. So the lounge is very, very interesting. We just touched the tip of the iceberg today. In subsequent videos, we're going to talk about a lot of other things, for example, programming different functionalities as well. Again, mind you, if you go back to the first series of videos where we looked at this as a standalone unit, right? We just had the machine by itself. But that does not mean in any way, shape, or form that the standalone features cannot be also used together with the live features. So I can still have a backing track, okay? If I go in and let's say I go into this particular folder. Let's show you guys what I am looking at over here. All right, I got, let's say, AjamSonic MP3. I can still go into that folder and I can still look for a backing track, for example. Let's see, I had let's see, Midi file here. Let's see, Closing the Door, I Shot the Sheriff, that's a Bob Marley. Okay, All Night Long. you know, I can't really play one for too long because of the copyright issue. But let's just say neither one of us, all right? And I got in there and start playing that. So this is playing, and this is a MIDI file which is playing right now, okay? Remember, with a MIDI controller, I still have access to be able to play voices along with that MIDI file. Okay? And if you look at the top of the machine over here, I have control to those individual voices. So that's the player volume right there. So this is the voice that's controlling the backing track. Sorry, this is the knob that controls the volume of the backing track. This is the knob voice which controls the volume of the voice I am playing live. So if I go to voice while it's playing, right, and I can go into my nice sweet AjamSonic sax, which is under the user right there, and do this. So this is very, very powerful. I don't know if you really understand the full package that this can deliver at your doorsteps, right? Having a machine that's like your hub, the center of your music, if you're playing, especially when you're playing as a solo artist. But if you're playing, think about this, you're playing in a church, for an example, and you want something to back you up or have backing tracks, the lounge is the way to go. If you're playing as a solo artist and you want to be able to, you don't need all the fluff of a full-blown arranger. You don't need all the strings coming from the left and the band playing all over the place. You want to be able to play live yourself, especially with your left hand bass and your right hand sound, and then have a drummer who's just backing you up right there to fill that pocket. The lounge is the way to go. If you want to add voices, you're singing yourself, you're a gentleman, and you want to add some female voices, or you're a woman and you want to add some male voices, and you want that sweet vocalizer, harmonizer sound, plug in the microphone, play along, and have the lounge either follow you or have the lounge follow a MIDI track, and that way your hands are free. Again, this is like a little suitcase, an all-in-one Swiss knife, a musician's Swiss knife. So that'll be all for today. I'm going to leave you for now, and we're going to come up with subsequent videos as well. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And this is the reason why. We're going to be putting up lots of more videos now, and really we're going to focus on performance in terms of, you know, using this machine or the Ketron products in general at live venues and at live events. You don't want to miss. You want to be notified each time we put up a new video. So please go ahead and click on the subscribe for those of you who are watching us on YouTube. And those of you on Facebook and other social media platforms, come over to YouTube, go to your account, click on subscribe below, and post notifications as well. And if you find this very interesting, to give YouTube the capability to be able to share this with others, please click on the like button below as well too. Again, thank you so much. Again, this is AJ at Ketron. We're coming up with so much more. We're going to be bringing up some music as well, and how to use this machine to be able to create wonders. Music that is at your fingertips. Ciao.